welcome back to another episode of our 2021 RPA Webinar Series. My name is Khaleesi Trenadu.
And I'm Logan Lewis.
And today we're going to be talking about UiPath and one of the functions of UiPath, and that is document understanding. So, Logan, can you tell us what document understanding is?
Yeah, sure. Document understanding, just to kick things off with a brief definition, is the process of having a software or robot extract, interpret, and process data from a document, either digital, physical, or any other type of document that you can have.
Okay, sounds simple enough. What type of documents does this technology work on?
Yeah, this type of technology works on all types of documents. So if you have PDFs, emails, Word documents, invoices, they can be paper, they can be tilted skew, they can be poor quality, can be JPEGs. Any type of document can be utilized when doing document understanding.
Okay, so it sounds like document understanding is pretty versatile. So can maybe you give us some examples of how businesses can use it in their practices?
Yeah, for sure. Document understanding is super versatile, and I'd argue that almost every business has a use case where they could utilize document understanding and be able to either save time and money. So a few examples are in the accounting department, you have vendor invoices that come in on a daily or weekly basis. Document understanding can read those invoices for you and submit the necessary information off of them into your accounting system for you, so removing the manual entry time. It also applies on the cash receipt process when you receive checks or payments from your customers. Document understanding can look at those documents and then enter the cash receipt into your accounting system for you. Mm-hmm. Other use cases involve entering HR data into your HR systems. So we see this a lot with like call center type organizations, customer service organizations, where you have a high degree of turnover in your employees. And you're processing a lot of documents for HR purposes. That's another great use case. Other use cases are in the healthcare industry, with entering patient information into systems when you're onboarding new patients, those type of things. So really any type of process where you get a lot of documents, either virtual or physical documents, and you have to get that information into some type of database or some type of system, document understanding is going to save you a ton of time and money.
Okay, great. So what are some of the benefits of implementing document understanding?
Yeah, so in terms of like what you should expect to get out of a document understanding implementation, I think there's really three big things that you're going to get out of it. So the first one is you're going to save a ton of time processing your documents. So it's anywhere between 35 and 80% reduction in the amount of processing time that you have, depending on the complexity of the documents that you're reviewing and the amount of manual intervention that you need with it. The second thing that you're really going to get out of document understanding is you're going to have your employees working on things that matter more, and they're going to be more engaged. So instead of spending their time entering information into systems, they're going to spend their time thinking about how to improve your business. And what we find with that is your employees become more engaged and they become more satisfied with their job, and you also end up getting a lot more out of your employees because of the types of things that they're working on. They can really reach their full potential, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing that you're going to get from a document understanding implementation is you're going to reduce the number of errors that you have. So, as humans, we're prone to make mistakes. We can key something in incorrectly, or we can choose the wrong field or misunderstand something. Well, a robot greatly reduces the likelihood of an error. And so that's the last thing that you really get out of a document understanding implementation.
Okay, so I imagine that companies are very cognizant of not wanting to make errors, and along with that, they may lack the confidence in these robots and wonder if they should trust their data with these robots. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think document understanding processes with UiPath have already built in a solution for that issue. So I know from my experience working in the accounting industry and looking at these type of technologies, that was a big concern for us. Is we didn't want to trust the robot 100%, because if they messed it up, it had a big impact for our investors and for other people reviewing our financial statements. And so one of the cool functionalities that document understanding has is it rates the confidence of each piece of data it takes off a document. So if it pulls an invoice date off of a document, it says how confident it is that that's the right information that's taking off of it. And you can set rules that basically say if it's below a certain confidence threshold, that we're going to have a manual intervention for a actual physical person to review what the robot has done. And so as you do that, the cool thing about UiPath technology is it has artificial intelligence algorithms already built in so that it learns. Your robot will learn as you teach it different things. Mm-hmm. And so as the more feedback that you give your robot, the better the robot gets at getting the correct data off of the document. So the more you do it, the better it gets, and eventually you won't have to intervene at all.
Okay, great. So from a technical standpoint, how does this actually work?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I actually caught up with one of our experts at EnterBridge named James Gebler. He's our document understanding expert here. And I went through some of the technical aspects of the technology with him, and we're going to share a portion of that interview right now to go through all those pieces.
James, thanks for taking some time to meet with us today and talk to us about document understanding. For those of you watching, this is James Gebler. He's our resident expert on document understanding using UiPath at EnterBridge, and he's agreed to speak with us today on a little bit of the technical side of how document understanding works. So, James, just to get us kicked off, can you give us an overview of what document understanding is?
Sure. So to me, document understanding is the ability for software robots in UiPath to read all kinds of documents and extract specific data from them.
Got it. So it sounds pretty simple from the surface, but I'm assuming there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Could you walk us through the different steps that go into every document understanding project?
Sure. Yeah. And there is a lot that is underneath the surface. There are 6 steps that are a part of document understanding. And just as an overview, they are creating a taxonomy, digitize, classify, extract, validate and train, and then lastly, export. So the first step is to create a taxonomy. And in this step, you are simply setting up the types of documents that the robot is looking for, and then also the data in those documents that the robot is going to be extracting. So for example, you might be setting up a document type for invoices, and then you'd specify, okay, I want the robot to get the vendor name, the invoice date, the due date. You might also have a table in the invoices that you want to get from the robot, like a description, a quantity, a line amount, things like that. And then you put that all in that specific document type. And then you do that for all sorts of different document types as well.
Got it. That sounds super useful. The one thing that I've noticed in my career looking at a lot of different financial documents is that every vendor invoice and a lot of customer invoices and HR data, et cetera, they all come kind of in different formats. So do you have to create a different um, taxonomy entry for every single vendor's invoice, or is there a way to get around that?
So that's the great thing about UiPath's document understanding is that you simply just need one document type in the taxonomy for your needs. And the robot, no matter what the format is, the robot will pull out those specific fields from that document type.
Got it. So it's smart enough to identify, hey, this is an invoice, and then it can just find the pieces of information that you need. Cool.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, so that covers taxonomy. So walk us through what it means to digitize and why that's important.
Sure. So a software robot, when it sees an image, it doesn't understand that image, right? It needs to be in a format that the robot can understand. And so this step is really important. If it is an image like a JPEG or a PNG, it will take that document and it will convert it into a format that the robot can't understand. And then it will also extract a line of text for that robot for later. And the technology that it uses in this situation is something called optical character recognition, or OCR for short. And this is what this technology does, is that it looks at the image and it extracts all the text from it. And so in this situation, it allowed the robot to understand the document. Now, there's sometimes where you'll have a document that has never been scanned or photographed. Perhaps the company created the invoice in a Word processor, Microsoft Word, converted it to PDF, and then just sent it your way. Right. So in that situation, the robot, it understands it perfectly. It doesn't need to be digitized. Um, However, there might be a case where there's, for example, the company name is inside of a logo, which is an image. Now, the robot, when it's already digitized, the robot will read things like text simply, but if it is a logo like that, then the robot would simply miss it. And so what you can do is that you can say, okay, no matter what document comes your way, if it's a PDF, if it's scanned document, I want you to always use this OCR technology so that I can always pick up every bit of text that I might be missing.
Got it. So it seems like it's a good practice to apply this digitized component to every document you get, even if some of the documents are already mostly digitized. It just makes the process a lot smoother.
Yep, exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then moving forward, I think you mentioned the next step was to classify. And I think that seems like it's related to taxonomy, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk us through that piece?
Yeah, so imagine that you're going through a walk through a forest. And when you're going through a walk, you're going to see all sorts of plants and trees, right? And the way that you recognize what specific kind of tree or plant this is you're using something based on what you already know about that tree, and you're looking for those details in that tree. So if you come across like a maple tree, right, you know what the leaves look like, you know maybe what the trunk looks like or whatever. And so because you know that, you know, okay, this is a maple tree. And it's similar to what a robot does with document understanding. The most common, I would say, technology you could say that the robot uses is it looks for keywords in that document. So if there's the words invoice or statement in the text that you digitized, then the robot knows, okay, this is an invoice. It can also look for if you had like the word license in there. The robot thinks, okay, this is probably a driver's license or things like that. So depending on what you set up in the taxonomy, like you said, the robot will look for certain things and then determine what kind of document type this falls under.
Got it. So it takes the taxonomy that you've set up and the digitized document and then determines, okay, what type of document this is. So that your robot knows what fields need to be taken off of the document.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so the next step is extract, which I hopefully is as simple as it sounds, where we're taking the information off of the invoice. But is there anything or any off of the document? Is there anything more to it than that?
That is, like you said, it is pretty much the biggest part of it. When the robot extracts a certain piece of data off of a document, it always includes a confidence level for that extraction between 0 and 100%. And so you're going to have various confidence levels for each of the fields that it's extracting. And this is important in the next step, which is validation and training. So what you can do is you can set up a process that says, okay, if any of the fields that you extracted were below 50% confidence, then I want to be able to manually intervene and make sure that this is what I was looking for. And if it was, that it is the exact data. And so what UiPath allows you to do is go in once you have set up that requirement, and you can make sure that it's the right field, and that even if it is the right field, you can make sure that the data is correct too. So if maybe it missed a letter in the business name, or it missed, maybe got one of the dates wrong, you can simply go in and just tweak the data and make sure that's good, and then confirm it, and then it continues.
Got it. So it seems like that's a really nice benefit to document understanding with UiPath at least, because I know working from past experience in the accounting field, that accuracy is actually super important. And so being able to uh, take a look at and review some of the higher risk entries would be super valuable to making sure that your entries are correct. So that's awesome. That's a big barrier for, I think, the financial services industry that is being overcome with that piece of technology. So
Mhm.
you also mentioned that there's a training component of it. So how does that play in with validation?
Right. Like I said, the robot has that confidence level. Maybe it did get it wrong. Maybe it missed it somehow. When you go in and fix that, the robot will learn from that and will say, okay, I see what you did there, and I'll make sure that next time I get it that time. And it will get smarter with each iteration of that. Even if it did get it right, the robot still learns from that as well, and it knows to continue doing those good practices as well. So it's a great way for the robot to continue to learn and for the process to become even more efficient in the future.
Got it. So the more volume that you run through your document understanding process, the smarter your robots get and the better the output you get.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. And then the final step you mentioned was export. So can you take us through what this step is about?
Sure. So basically, at the end of this process, you have all of your fields, all the data from your fields, right? And you obviously want to do something with it. And what's so great about UiPath is that it's very flexible to use whatever system you need to. So if you want to put that into an Excel file, then you can easily write all that data into an Excel file. If you have a system such as QuickBooks, you can easily set up an automation so that all of that data that you collected from the document understanding will go straight to there. And it is efficient and it's fast, it's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely see the benefits. You could write, if I'm not mistaken, you can write your data into pretty much any type of system where you store your documents data. Is that correct?
Yep, exactly.
Got it. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you, James, taking us through those 6 steps. There's a lot that go into those, and while it does seem quite complex, you've done a great job of explaining exactly kind of what is happening in each of those steps, and help me at least solidify my understanding of how this process should work. Do you have any final thoughts for us on document understanding with UiPath?
Yeah, I think it's just reinforcing what you mentioned earlier, just how versatile this process is. You can set up any kind of document that you need processing with. It could be something that's unstructured, like a contract or an email, even. And you can create a process that will extract the important data. And that's what makes this so great is that there's so many different opportunities for it to be applied to, so many different document types. It's very flexible and it can be used for pretty much anything that you need.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like the number of applications that this technology has is almost unlimited. So, that's a great overview. Appreciate you taking the time today, James, and thanks for teaching us a little bit about document understanding.
Of course, thanks, Logan.
So that was a great overview of the technology, but what I'm interested in is how we can actually see this in real life.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we see a lot of in a lot of the businesses that we help with RPA is in the accounting space, specifically when they receive vendor invoices. Accounting departments tend to get a lot of vendor invoices, somewhere between 100, 200 a week for bigger organizations. And so they need an easy way to take that information and put it into their accounting system. So the use case we're going to go over today is one where we receive a vendor invoice. We then process it through document understanding. We review the confidence level that we get with it, and then we implement it into either a accounting system or some other place. So that's what we're going to go through right now. Okay, so as you can see here, we're just opening up the vendor invoice that we want to apply document understanding to. So you can see right there, the vendor is EnterBridge, invoice number 418, paying $457.50. So now we're going to start the robot and get the process going. So the first step that happens is the classification of the document happens. So if you remember when James Gebler was explaining the process and the technology, one of the first things is you set up your taxonomies to determine what type of documents are coming into the process. So the first thing that you'll see here is that the robot is classifying this document as a vendor invoice. Following that, we get into the validation stage. So you can see here, this is our validation manager with UiPath. On the left-hand side, you have all of the key fields that you want taken off the invoice. And on the right side, you see where they show up on the document. And you can see as you hover over them, they get highlighted on the document image. And then on the left in the red box, you can see the confidence that the robot has that these are correct. If you really want to have human intervention, you would see this validation station every single invoice you get. Otherwise, you can set rules that say, under some certain threshold, we don't need to have the validation station pop up. And as you can see, the document understanding did a great job of picking up all the correct invoices or all the correct pieces of information off the invoice. As you can see here, we can change any of the fields that we want. So for instance, you can see there, we're changing the line item description to be a little bit different. So. Okay, following the data validation stage, you can see that this data was then extracted and then output into an Excel file. I just want to remind everyone, in this example, the Excel file is our accounting system, but we could write to any different type of system using RPA. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be QuickBooks. It could be some massive ERP system. Doesn't matter. We can write to any of it. It's actually one of the really great benefits of document understanding is it connects these different parts of RPA to one another. Where there used to have to be human intervention, with document understanding, we can remove that human intervention portion of the workflow. And you can just see as we're walking through here that all of the fields have been input correctly into this database.
Okay, do you have any final thoughts you can share with everyone?
Yeah, first, that document understanding is super versatile. So we went through a lot of different types of use cases where this would apply. You have your customer service industry, you have accounting teams, you have banking, insurance. There's lots of different industries where document understanding would be a huge benefit. The next thing, in terms of the actual benefits you're going to get quicker document processing times, more accurate document processing, and then you're also going to get happier employees because they're going to be working on things that are a lot more important than moving information from a document to a database. And then finally, I want to highlight there's a lot of different industries and a lot of different use cases where this applies. Every single company in the world has some type of accounting process. And so document understanding is for you with either cash receipts or vendor invoices or even accounts receivable invoices. There's lots of different processes in the accounting space where document understanding is super valuable. There's also in the banking industry KYC processes that this could be super helpful for post-closing processes. If you have any type of compliance or lots of HR documentation, document understanding is for you, and that you can get huge benefits from using this type of RPA.
All right, thanks Logan for all that great information, and we thank all of you for tuning in, and be sure to check us out next month for our next episode in our webinar series. If you have any questions or want to reach out to us, check out our website at enterbridgerpa.com, and from all of us at EnterBridge, have a great day.